years ago, I lived in Wolseley and a friend lived nearby, and she came over one night with a bottle of wine, some yarn, and some needles, and just said, I'm gonna teach you how to knit. And we sat on the back deck, and she just showed me some of the basics. I think I drank more wine than I knit, and I didn't really get very far, but it inspired me to keep trying because it was fun. Well, I started with a square. Like, I just knit this pathetic little square that was just a sample of practice stitches. Once I was done with that, I decided I wanted to knit something real, so I think I made a hat, and it turned out ginormous. And slowly over a year, I made a few little things here and there, and then all of a sudden the bug hit and I wanted to knit everything all the time. So there's different stages you go through as a new knitter. Like, you start off and you're kind of timid, and then all of a sudden you get really into knitting and you just love knitting, and all you talk about is knitting, and all you want to show is knitting, and all you want to get your friends to do is learn to knit because you're just having so much fun. So I think I was in that I want everyone to learn to knit phase, and I was showing my mom all the things I'd made, and she was really interested in picking it up again and trying to see if she could get any further than she ever did as a young girl. So I taught her to knit continental style, which she'd always learned English style, and I taught her continental. And she just loved knitting that way and just took off. So now she knits all the time. She knits sweaters for the babies, she knits scarves, mitts, hats, cowls. So I found out I was pregnant, and at first we just thought it was one baby. So I went out, I was in Calgary, and I went to a local yarn shop out there and picked out all the wool to make this nice rainbow blanket, and I thought how the baby would just love snuggling up in it. And I got yarn to make one little striped sweater, and shortly after that, maybe 2-3 weeks later, I discovered that we were having twins, and it was a big surprise. So I suddenly had to make 2 little striped sweaters. Like, the girls were born 2 months early, so they were really, really small, and they spent a long time in the NICU, so we knit them teeny tiny hats that they got to wear. I hope they keep them. I'm gonna save them for them. I hope they treasure them, or at least look at it and say, look, I was that small. I really like that it's just something you can take with you anywhere. You can do anytime, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Like, for example, when I was pregnant, I brought knitting with me to pretty much every doctor's appointment. So when I'd sit in the waiting room, I'd knit a scarf or a hat or a pair of socks for the babies. I find that it helps pass the time, so when you're waiting, it seems less boring. I think it would be fun to teach them how to knit when they're a bit older. Obviously now they're way too young. They just destroy everything that they touch, and my yarn, it's too nice to let them play with. They are learning to share their toys and interact with each other. I think learning to be patient and waiting for things, or just having that attention to detail and learning that it's good to do something in a correct way is good to learn. But when they get a bit older, I think it'll be fun to teach them. I think they'll want to learn because they'll see me doing it, and then they'll want to do what mommy's doing. A lot of people I know learn to knit really, really young, so even if you think like 3 is too young to teach a kid to knit, I don't think so. Like, if they have the interest in it, you can start them really young and give practice in that, they'll get really great. What do they say? It takes 10,000 hours to be really good at something, so if you start when you're really young, you can be really, really good at something by an early age, so I'm still working on my 10,000 hours.